They said you were finished. They wrote your obituary while you were still breathing. They planned your funeral while your heart was still beating. But here you are, standing taller than their highest expectations, shining brighter than their darkest predictions. You didn't just survive, you evolved. And if this resonates with you, if you're ready to keep leveling up and refuse to go back to who you used to be, hit that subscribe button right now. This channel is your daily reminder that you're built different. We're building an army of people who chose transformation over comfort, and I need you in it. So subscribe, turn on notifications, and let's continue this journey together. Look at what you just did to their entire reality. You didn't just walk back into their lives. You materialized like a force of nature they forgot existed. You're not the person they remember. You're the nightmare they created, and the dream they'll never reach. Every assumption they made about your ceiling just became your floor. Right now, in this exact moment, someone is spiraling. They're scrolling through your content for the 15th time today, not out of admiration, but out of disbelief. Their mind is short-circuiting, trying to match the broken version they remember with the powerhouse standing in front of them. They're searching for cracks in your armor, weaknesses in your foundation, some evidence that this is all smoke and mirrors. But they're coming up empty, because you're not faking anything. You're not performing. You're just being the person you rebuilt from scratch. You know what's beautiful? They were waiting for your collapse. They had their phones ready to capture your breakdown. They wanted screenshots of your failure to validate their decision to give up on you. They needed you to fall apart publicly so they could feel better about privately falling apart themselves. But you disappeared instead. You went dark. You went silent. And while they were celebrating your absence like it was a victory, you were in the shadows, reconstructing yourself cell by cell. You weren't hiding. You were hatching. There's a difference between retreat and reset. They thought you ran away. You were actually loading the next level. You were upgrading the software. You were becoming the version of yourself that they won't recognize and can't compete with. Here's what's destroying them completely. You didn't return for revenge. You didn't come back to prove them wrong. You came back because you were ready, and ready is terrifying. Ready doesn't need an audience. Ready doesn't require validation. Ready doesn't waste energy on people who are still stuck in the same chapters you already closed. Let me break down what they're actually seeing when they look at you now. They're not just seeing physical changes. They're seeing someone who stopped apologizing for taking up space. They're seeing someone who burned every bridge that led back to their old self. They're seeing evidence that transformation isn't reserved for other people, that it's available to anyone willing to pay the price. And that price is everything comfortable, everything familiar, everything that felt safe but kept you small. Your existence is now proof of concept, living testimony that rock bottom is a foundation, not a grave. That silence isn't surrender. That disappearing doesn't mean defeated. You're walking evidence that some people really do rise from ashes while others just complain about the heat. The group chats are absolute chaos right now. Screenshots are flying like contraband. Voice messages are panicked and obsessed. Did you see them? How is that even possible? Wait, is that actually them? I thought they were going through something difficult. They were. They went through the fire and didn't just survive it. They consumed it. They absorbed its energy. They learned its language. Now they're walking around with flames in their eyes, and everyone can feel the heat. This isn't jealousy they're experiencing. Jealousy is simple. Jealousy is wanting what someone else has. What they're feeling is existential terror, because you didn't just get hot, you got free. And freedom is the one thing their money can't purchase, their filters can't replicate, their manipulation can't touch. Freedom looks like someone who stopped performing for people who bought tickets to watch them fail. Freedom looks like someone who decided their peace was more valuable than anyone's opinion. Freedom looks like you. And free people are dangerous because they can't be controlled, can't be bought, can't be broken twice. You know what's hilarious? While they were waiting for you to crumble, you were building. While they were spreading rumors about your downfall, you were rising in silence. While they were comfortable in their mediocrity, you were uncomfortable in your growth. Now the gap between you and them isn't just visible, it's a canyon. And they're standing on the wrong side, watching you soar, realizing they don't even have wings. Here's the part that's eating them alive from the inside out. You didn't need their permission. You didn't need their support. You didn't need their belief. You did it anyway. You became exceptional despite their doubt. You thrived in their absence. You proved that everything they offered was optional, not essential. You're not here to settle scores or prove points. You're here because you finally understood that the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's indifference. It's building a life so fulfilling that they become irrelevant to your story. It's reaching a level where their opinions echo in empty rooms because you're not listening anymore. Let me tell you what they're really seeing. Their own wasted potential staring back at them through your success. They're seeing someone who walked through the same hell they're still complaining about and came out laughing. They're seeing proof that excuses expire when commitment shows up. They're seeing their own mirror, and they hate the reflection. That's unbearable. Not that you're winning, that you're free while they're still caged in the same patterns, same complaints, same limitations they've been making homes in for years. The comments section is a battlefield. Half are trying to decode your secret. What's your routine? What's your mindset? What's your strategy? They're looking for a shortcut, a hack, a cheat code. But you know the truth. Your secret isn't in a book or a program. Your secret is that you finally chose yourself with the same intensity others chose to abandon you. Your secret is that you weaponized your pain instead of becoming its victim. Your secret is that you died and decided to resurrect yourself without asking anyone's permission. They're studying your transformation like it's a formula they can copy. But here's what they'll never understand. You can't plagiarize liberation. You can't duplicate the wisdom that comes from surviving your own destruction. You can't fake the energy that comes from choosing yourself daily when the world chose to look away. They want the glory without the grind. They want the crown without the crucifixion. They want the power without the powerlessness that teaches you how to hold it. But evolution doesn't work that way. You can't skip the chapters where you die. You can't fast forward through the part where everything you thought you were burns to the ground. When you stepped out looking like that, you didn't just challenge their memory of you. You challenged their entire belief system about what's possible after betrayal, after loss, after devastation. They needed you to stay broken. They needed you to validate their choice to stay stuck. They needed you to be the cautionary tale they could reference whenever someone suggested that change was possible. But you obliterated that narrative. You became the plot twist nobody predicted. You became the exception that shattered their rules. Right now, your ex is staring at your pictures, calculating their loss in real time. Your former friends are wondering if they can slide back into your orbit without looking desperate. Your critics are searching desperately for something to attack, but you gave them nothing. You didn't show up messy, you showed up immaculate. And immaculate is impossible to criticize without revealing your own bitterness. So they're trapped, stuck between wanting to hate you and having no legitimate reason. That's the sweetest torture, watching someone you tried to destroy become indestructible. The algorithm is glitching because of you. Your energy is creating disturbances in the matrix. People who don't know you are ending up on your page. Strangers are sharing your content with captions like, "This is the energy I'm claiming, and this is what rising looks like." Without saying a word, you've become a symbol. Not just a person. A symbol of what happens when you stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. A symbol of what's possible when you trade people-pleasing for self-preservation. The bravest thing you did wasn't stepping out looking powerful. It was deciding you deserved to. It was looking at yourself after everything that happened and saying, "I'm still here, and I'm still worth every effort." Most people never reach that moment. Most people see their scars and accept them as their final form. But you saw your scars and said, "These are just the prologue." Most people hear criticism and shrink. You heard it and expanded. Most people feel rejection and hide. You felt it and decided to become impossible to ignore. The energy you carry now is different and everyone feels it. It's not arrogance. Arrogance needs external validation. What you have is certainty. Certainty that you don't need their approval. Certainty that you're on the right path. Certainty that their opinions about your journey are completely irrelevant. And certainty is magnetic. People gravitate toward it even when they don't understand it, especially when it intimidates them. They're calling it luck, filters, enhancements, witchcraft. They're manufacturing explanations because the truth is too threatening. The truth is simple. You decided to become the person you always knew you could be. You stopped waiting for permission from people who never deserved access. You bet on yourself when everyone else was betting against you. And now you're collecting everything they said you'd never have. But they can't accept that. Because accepting that means accepting their own responsibility for staying stuck. This isn't about superficial changes. Those are just the visible effects. What they're really reacting to is the energy shift. You're not moving through space the same way. You're not apologizing with your body language. You're not dimming yourself to make others comfortable. You're not performing humility for people who confused your kindness for weakness. You're carrying yourself like someone who knows their value. And that confidence disturbs people who are used to you doubting yourself. The meltdown isn't about attraction. It's about you being unreachable. Attraction they could handle. They could compete with that. But how do you compete with someone who needs nothing from you? How do you hurt someone who already survived their own death? How do you break someone who learned to love their broken pieces? You can't, and that's what's driving them insane. You're not playing their games anymore. You're not even watching. You're in a completely different arena, and they can't figure out how to get invited. This moment represents your declaration of independence. This is you announcing that you don't need validation from people who devalued you. This is you proving you're not the version they remember. That person is gone. That person forgave too easily, trusted too quickly, stayed too long. This version has boundaries made of titanium and a heart that only opens for people who earned access, not demanded it. The internet is melting down because you reminded everyone that transformation is real. That rock bottom isn't the end. It's the plot device before the comeback. And comebacks are always more interesting than consistency. Consistency is predictable. A comeback requires courage. It requires risking being seen again after being hurt. It requires believing in yourself when the evidence suggests you shouldn't. And you did all of that. You risked everything. Now you're reaping rewards while they're drowning in regret. The worst part for them? They can't even hate you properly. To hate you, they'd have to admit you got to them. And admitting that means admitting you won. So they're stuck in limbo, obsessed, but silent. They're checking your page but not engaging. They're watching your content but not commenting. They're discussing you privately but staying quiet publicly. That's the tax they pay for underestimating you. They have to witness your rise in silence, choking on their own pride. They're saying you changed, and they're right. You did change. That's the entire point. The old version tolerated disrespect, accepted breadcrumbs, stayed in toxic situations from fear of being alone. This version chose solitude over toxicity, chose growth over comfort, chose themselves over everyone who chose to leave. In the coming weeks, watch them try to reconnect. They'll send casual messages with vague compliments. They'll act like nothing happened. They'll test whether they can regain access. This is your moment. This is where you show them that the door isn't just closed, it's welded shut. This is where you demonstrate that your transformation isn't just external, it's spiritual. It's mental. It's permanent. You're not the person they left. You're the upgraded version they'll never experience. Your appearance now isn't about impressing anyone. It's about expressing yourself authentically for the first time. You're not dressing for approval. You're not styling yourself to fit in. You're showing up for yourself. And that shift, that seismic shift from external validation to internal satisfaction, that's what they're sensing. That's what makes them uncomfortable. Because when you stop performing for others, you become unpredictable. And unpredictable people can't be controlled. The meltdown will continue. It'll get louder, more desperate, more confused. They'll keep analyzing every aspect of your transformation. And you'll keep living, glowing, moving forward without looking back. Because that's what people who understand their power do. They don't engage with noise. They don't explain themselves to people who lack the capacity to understand. They exist at a higher frequency and let everyone else adjust or get left behind. You didn't just step out looking good. You stepped out looking free. And freedom on someone who was once caged is the most dangerous, most beautiful, most magnetic force in the world. You're not trying to prove anything. You're just existing as proof. Proof that recovery is real. Proof that transformation is possible. Proof that you can walk through hell and come back wearing the flames as decoration. Keep walking, keep glowing, keep being exactly what they can't handle. Because their meltdown isn't your problem. It's your confirmation that you're doing everything right. The real reason they can't sleep? It's not your appearance, it's your energy. Energy doesn't lie. When you enter a space now, the atmosphere shifts. Not with hostility, with authority. With presence that makes people unconsciously adjust their posture. You're not trying to intimidate anyone. You're just no longer shrinking yourself for their comfort. That microscopic but monumental shift registers in their nervous systems like an alarm they can't silence. They're picking up on something they can't name, can't describe, can't replicate, no matter how many guides they follow or products they buy. There's cognitive dissonance tearing them apart. The version of you stored in their memory doesn't match the reality standing before them. Human brains hate that. We're programmed to categorize, predict, feel safe in our assumptions. But you shattered those assumptions. You became the error in their code. Now they're stuck in a loop, trying to update their perception. But the new data doesn't compute. You evolved beyond their processing capacity. Here's what nobody mentions about transformation. People who watched you struggle will resent your success more than strangers ever could. Strangers see the result and feel inspired. But people who knew you before saw the before. They witnessed the pain, the doubt, the vulnerability. And somewhere in their psychology, they filed you under less than. Your transformation didn't just surprise them, it threatened their entire identity. Because if you can rise from where you were, what's their excuse? Your success became their mirror, and they despise what they see reflected. The comments trying to minimize your transformation are predictable. It's just lighting, it's just angles, it's just makeup. They're desperately trying to reduce your metamorphosis to something purchasable, something explainable. But you know the truth. What they're witnessing isn't cosmetic, it's cosmic. You didn't just change your appearance, you changed your frequency. You upgraded your entire operating system. You deleted toxic programs that were running in the background, draining your energy, corrupting your files. Now you're running on clean code, optimized performance, maximum efficiency, and they can feel it even if they can't articulate it. You're operating on a different wavelength now, broadcasting on a frequency that only certain people can tune into. And the ones who can't, they're experiencing static, confusion, and the uncomfortable realization that they're no longer compatible with your signal. This is your era, your season, your time. Not because the universe finally decided to favor you, but because you finally decided to favor yourself. You stopped waiting for external permission and gave yourself internal authorization. You stopped seeking validation from people who were never qualified to give it. The transformation they're witnessing isn't the end result. It's just the visible part. What they can't see is the internal revolution that preceded it. The mental battles you won in silence, the habits you built in darkness, the discipline you developed when nobody was watching, the character you forged when nobody believed. You're not lucky. You're the result of 1,000 decisions nobody saw you make. You're the outcome of choosing yourself repeatedly when choosing yourself felt impossible. You're the product of showing up for yourself when everyone else stopped showing up for you. So let them melt down, let them spiral, let them refresh your page until their thumbs cramp. Let them analyze, dissect, and theorize. While they're busy trying to figure you out, you'll be busy becoming even more unfigurable. You're not here to be understood. You're here to be undeniable. And that, right there, is what's breaking their brain and healing your soul simultaneously. You're watching them struggle with your success while you're peaceful in your progress. You're watching them obsess over your transformation while you're already planning your next evolution. They're stuck studying your past levels while you're already unlocking new ones. This is what it looks like when someone stops playing defense and goes full offense on their own life. This is what it looks like when someone stops reacting to their circumstances and starts creating them. This is what it looks like when someone realizes they're the author of their story, not a character in someone else's. You're not the same. You're not supposed to be. You're better. You're evolved. You're free. And freedom, real freedom, is the ultimate form of revenge without ever seeking revenge. Welcome to your new reality. Population, you. Everyone else is just visiting.